Let It Be is one of the most famous songs ever written. So how is a song that used such a common chord progression able to stand the test of time? And was Paul McCartney thinking about deep, complex musical theory concepts when he wrote it, or did the song just sort of write itself? Let It Be begins with just 4 chords: C, G, A minor, and F. Now, this progression is also known as the 1-5-6-4 progression, and it shows up everywhere in pop music. The progression is called the 1-5-6-4 because it uses those scale degrees of the key it's in. So if you have a C scale, you can build chords using the 1st, the 5th, the 6th, and the 4th notes of that scale, and because those chords are from the same scale family, they naturally sound really good together. So now we understand the chords that were used to build this song, let's talk about the intro to Let It Be, because as soon as you hear the first couple of chords, you know you're hearing Let It Be. Now, this is because of the way that Paul plays these chords. He doesn't just play them as straight root position triads, he uses a few really specific techniques to help them stand out. First of all, it's the path he takes through the chords using inversions to create a melody through voice leading. So what we're hearing is this. We've got C, and then he uses an inverted G chord. So you hear that G repeated, it becomes the melody. And then we move to A minor, and even though there's a passing chord as we move into this F major 7, this E is repeated on top, creating more of that melody. Now, the second half of the intro uses pretty much the same chords, but again, there's some subtle differences that make a huge impact. He uses 4-note chords here instead of triads, which gives a much more rich and full sound, so you get this. And then he skips A minor completely, we don't even have that chord this time, and moves into this iconic Let It Be piano riff, which walks us back down to C. Now, another important thing to note is the left hand. So the left hand is actually pretty rhythmic. Even though it's staying pretty close to just playing the root notes, it's rhythmic, and there's a bit of a surprise with the use of the F sharp to get to the G chord. So he's approaching the movement from the 1 to the 5 chromatically, and it's like this little surprise for the ears, and it's super engaging. Now this pattern, this approach pretty much repeats itself for the rest of the verses and leads us into the chorus. The genius thing about the chorus is that while the chords are the same, the order changes, which totally transforms the mood. The first half of the chorus begins on that minor 6 chord, and that moves us down, oh, listen to that, and it walks down even further and brings us all the way to C. So it's this bit of a walk down, and it gives us a mournful, sort of introspective feeling. And the other amazing thing, and this might be my favorite, is that the melody is primarily made up of the A minor pentatonic scale. The pentatonic scale is the most popular and simple scale in the world. It uses these notes. There's just 5 of them. And the reason people use this scale is because it creates incredibly catchy melodies that will get stuck in your head. And the chorus of Let It Be is no exception. Now here's where things get so interesting, because the chorus, the melody of the chorus of the song is built on the pentatonic scale. And the pentatonic scale is one of the oldest and most simple scales there is. So if you look at it in the key of C, it uses the 1, the 2, the 3, and the 5. And the 6. So if we've got C, D, E, G, A, and those are the notes that the chorus is using. And this is amazing because the pentatonic scale is a scale that has no tension. And that's because there aren't any half steps. It's all built up of whole steps. So what you get is this super beautiful, tension-free series of notes, unlike if you were to play the notes of a regular major or minor scale where you have those half steps in there. So it's absolutely genius that we're in a chorus where we're singing about just letting things be, and we have a tension-free scale that the melody is built on. The chorus ends with a 4-to-1 chord movement, which is also known as a Plagal cadence. So a cadence is simply a way to bring your ears, to bring the song from somewhere else back to the one chord where everything sort of feels like it has a sense of resolution. And a 4/1 cadence or a Plagal cadence was super common in church music. It would be a way to end a hymn. And I feel like it really adds to the spiritual and almost sacred feeling of the song. Now, we do have a full transcription of Let It Be inside the Pianote song library. So if you want to learn how to play this note for note, make sure you grab the free 7-day trial below this video and you can start playing it right now. Now, when we get to the middle of the song, just before the guitar solo, we come back to those iconic passing chords. And the theme continues, and when you look at the chords, they're complicated looking chords. But bear with me, look at what's happening in the left hand. It's just moving down a scale. Now, Paul McCartney is a bass player, and I think that influenced how he built this part of the song. I highly doubt he was like, I'm gonna make some complicated chords here. I think I should move from a G7 sus4 / D to a C. But rather, he was just composing a bass line that moved down the scale, and then he found chords that would fit into that picture. Now, we can go even deeper with this, because if you know music theory, you might recognize this scale as being a C Mixolydian. Again, it's doubtful that Paul was like, I'm gonna use a C Mixolydian mode here, but he adds this B flat into the progression, which isn't part of the key of C. It's not diatonic, but it sounds amazing. And this began a movement in popular music where many songs after Let It Be used this flat 7 trick. So if you look at the key of C, B is the 7th note, and B flat is just the flat 7. So fitting that into the key, even though it doesn't really belong there, sounded amazing. They used it later in Hey Jude, and a lot of other artists like James Taylor, Boston, Green Day, Guns N' Roses all use this flat 7 trick. So now we have this amazing walk down happening with these beautiful chords, and I want you to notice something else. No minor chords are in this progression. Slash chords helped him to avoid having to play minor chords, and the result of this is a really unique and iconic piece of pop music history. So once the bass line was established, all he had to do was attach chords to those notes. If he would have just built root position chords based on the notes that he had in that walk down, it would have sounded like this, which is fine, but that's not what Paul did. He used inversions and slash chords so that he could move down that descending line in a really unique and smooth way. So we get something that sounds more like this. And it just works. So I think we can draw 3 main conclusions from this little adventure. Number 1, playing multiple instruments can be a superpower. I believe that the diversity in the instruments Paul plays made an impact on the success and the uniqueness of this song. Number 2, you don't need to know theory to write an iconic song. But moving into point number 3, behind every iconic song is music theory. So while Let It Be might seem like a very simple song at first glance, when you begin to dig deeper, the theory behind the song reveals layers of complexity and creativity that led to the timeless success of Let It Be.